All right, welcome back to Gage Your Health, episode 4. Today we have a very special guest. We have Melissa from Intuitively You on Instagram.
Hi.
That's intuitively underscore letter U on Instagram. How you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I'm doing pretty good today, actually.
Good.
So we wanted to have you on the show because you run a pretty similar page to Gage Your Health. I mean, it's much more lighthearted and a lot happier than some of the stuff that we tend to put out. Ours seems to be a little more dark, yeah, definitely, yeah. Okay, that's I wasn't going straight for dark and heavy, but yeah, 110%. So I just wanted to ask you a couple questions on why you got into this too. So that's my first question, actually, is why did you want to start talking about this online and everything? Yes.
Because I know that my whole life was just mental. I have like generational mental illnesses.
Okay, so it goes back
It
for
goes
a while.
back. And I started noticing different traits within myself that wouldn't give me good energy and like wouldn't make me feel good. Things that I would do. By the time I was 15, I was on an antidepressant.
Oh, so you got a really early start to this.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
Life happens too, and
Yeah,
things
110%.
whatever. So I got into it recently. Like I always wanted to help people and I always knew it, and before, like, working out was my big thing. Like, oh, I want to get people to work out. But I always knew that I was there for people. Like, people would always come to me and talk to me about their stories. So I knew there was, like, some kind of, like, open
Like you had a
energy.
connection with that.
Yes.
Mhm.
So after my father passed, I kind of had a shift within myself. And I was able to talk about things that happened to me and how important it is to have a healthy mindset.
Yeah.
If you don't have a healthy mindset, nothing in your life is going to prosper.
No, I completely agree with that. The mind is the originator of everything. Like you have to have, 100%, you have to have a healthy mind to have a healthy body, to have a healthy life, to have a healthy relationships with people as well. So that
you have to have healthy relationship with yourself first.
exactly what I meant. You
Yes,
have to have
I
a
know
healthy
what you
relationship with yourself.
Yeah.
But that is quite a story. That is honestly quite a story, and that is very cool that you were able to see that when you almost saw that shift in yourself. A lot of people can't see that shift, and that's something that I really try to hammer home here is that, you might not see it, you might need some help to get there, but you can get better. You can, see that shift. You can see your change within yourself.
100%. And also, like, it goes back, like, the way your mind works goes back to, like, before you were even born.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's literally in your DNA.
Mm-hmm.
If you have issues, mental issues, if you have these like patterns and these habits, like it's passed down from generation to generation.
Oh, 110%. I'm the same way. Generational emotional instability, mental instability, same thing all the way.
So to be able to step back and take a look at everything, not just like, oh, this person was doing that to me. Everybody has perspectives. So like that person may be going through something and they're just projecting that onto you. So don't feel bad if somebody yells at you over something, because that's just something internal with them.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's kind of just everything. Your whole perspective on life is the most important thing, and mental illness comes from perspectives and the way that you talk to yourself.
Yeah, no, and I completely agree with that. And regardless of I completely believe in. We had a little bit of a texting conversation where you said you don't really believe too much in Western medicine, and I am kind of 50-50 on that whole thing, because I do believe in the chemical imbalances and whatnot.
Absolutely.
My brain does not shoot out the correct amount of serotonin and happiness. It definitely doesn't. There's just no way in hell. But I still have never really been able to try, or at least I've tried meditation and some other, more natural remedies for this stuff, but I've never been able to stick to an actual routine on it. Now, do you have any tips for that? Any tips to actually get really involved in that sort of healing? And if you want to stay away from the antidepressants, the normal routes of, mental health getting better?
You're eating.
Really?
Absolutely. You want to release those chemicals. Like there's a chemical imbalance going on.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you eat wrong foods, your body is not able to produce the proper hormones, the proper chemicals that need to be released.
You know, I've always heard that. I've been through many therapy sessions. I've been away once, so I've heard a lot of different reasons on, you know, how to get better. But and they've always, you know, diet's always been in there.
But it's not
never
diet.
It's never been a thing on describing on something like that. They never told me, well, if you know, eat this, you're going to feel like your brain's going to feel like shit later. You know, they don't tell you that.
That's Western medicine.
You're very true. You're very true there.
So, no, I also, a big shift happened within me when I was 25. I call it my quarter life crisis. And that's when I started getting into like eating better. Like I literally came from eating McDonald's and, you know, bagel bites. And I was a competitive gymnast too.
Oh,
so
wow.
I don't know. I remember there was times like I would have oodles and noodles for dinner and I would go to gymnastics and be so sick. And I just didn't. I thought it was just my body.
Yeah, just because you were working your body so hard at that point. Yeah.
And as I got older and I started working out, and my trainer's like, "Oh, you have to eat clean." I'm like, "Okay, so no salt, no sugar, like nothing." That's how I got stuck on black coffee. Like I drink black coffee. But I noticed a shift within myself then. But then after my daughter, I went to IIN. It's the Institute for Integrative Nutrition.
Okay.
And I started learning so much about the human body and the way that foods trigger and like different theories like, oh, you know, salt's bad. Like, no, it's not the salt that's bad. It's the source of the salt that we're getting.
Okay, so like you're saying like the way it's processed and stuff like that,
Absolutely.
like the processed chemicals inside of some of the stuff you're eating is going to adversely affect not only your body but your mental health at the
Absolutely.
same way. But I mean that is your body.
Well,
at the same time.
85% of the serotonin is released through your gut.
Really?
Oh my gosh.
I have never heard
There's two
that.
brains.
I have never heard that. I've
Actually,
always heard
three.
we have two brains,
Yeah. But if you can't, I count the heart as a big one too. But your actual brain in your head and also your stomach. Yeah.
That's actually a really interesting point because I've never, again, I've been through it all, but I've never heard it described just as that, you know. And I've tried to go through multiple different therapists, tried to go through multiple different ways and multiple different avenues of trying to get better, and no one has ever told me that before, ever.
Well, you know, every
Thank you
day
very much.
learn
Honestly,
something.
yeah, no, that'll help me, and I guarantee that'll help some people out there.
Well, you know, and a big thing for me is like diets. I hate it being called a diet because a diet you usually do for like you like go hardcore and
It's not a all the time thing.
and then you give up because it's such a chore to do this. Like, oh, you can't eat that. Like, listen, I don't eat cake because I'm gluten free and I don't like the amount of sugar, how it makes me feel. But there are days when I have cookies and I have like I indulge.
Yeah,
But
like
I
comfort
don't-
foods
I
type deal.
don't feel bad about it either.
Yeah.
I just make sure that I get it from a different source or I bake
Bake
it.
your own
you
cookies
know?
and stuff like that.
I don't like buying processed stuff, but it all goes down to every little thing that's in your food, and it really like processed carbs like bagels and stuff like that. Like if you give that to kids all the time, they're gonna develop obesity and diabetes.
Yeah, really?
Because it spikes. What it does is
Just
like
the process.
if you eat it in the morning and it processes so fast, it spikes your blood sugar and your glycemic index, and then
Okay.
you crash.
Okay,
So
and your
then-
body's not, and then your body's like, what the heck's
Then
going
you're
on here? Yeah.
craving, and you know, then you're like, oh, I need coffee, and then you're like, no, I need more sugar, and it's like your body is wanting that spike again.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're able to keep your glycemic index at a good level, you wouldn't have cravings, and
Okay.
you know, just start adding in better things rather than back. That's where I was going with it. I completely forgot. I went off track. I'm sorry.
No problem at all.
So it's not diets, it's a lifestyle change.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be willing to get the diet out of your head and understand that food is fuel.
Yeah.
And that's how
So
you
if you
should
put
see
in,
it.
if you have a BMW or something, you're going to put in high-end fuel into it
Exactly. So
instead
why
of
not
when you're
the same
driving
with your
around in
body?
a Honda when you put in. I understand that 100%.
Yeah.
That's a very good point in it.
So
And it's never been, again, like I said, that's the first time it's ever been described to me like that. And I'm just still so blown away that, like, that's the first time I've actually ever heard it described exactly like that. That is just, like, that's awesome to hear. That is really
thank
cool to hear.
you.
That is a really cool little
that makes me feel good that I'm able to help you.
You're welcome.
Just like I
Thank you.
said, day by day, little steps, baby steps. Baby steps are still steps and progress. It's not an all go hard or go home. It's let me make a change towards the better each single day,
Yeah.
every single day.
And that's what I try to, I mean, before this show, this is only episode 4. So before this show, like all of my friends obviously have known what I've gone through. So, you know, they'd come to me a lot of the times. And that's a big thing I'd preach is, okay, well, what can you do to feel better in this moment right now? You know, what's bothering you right now? And then let's attack that and let's get to the bottom of that. And then that kind of goes into the whole baby step thing of, okay, well, now we're done with this little step. We can move on to the bigger picture of it and what's actually bothering you behind that whole thing. Yeah. So, no, that's an awesome thing to say in all honesty. I love the baby step mentality. I love the, you know, everything you do is a step forward. It's not a step backwards. It might be a step sideways, but
Every
step backwards
step is a
aren't.
step.
Yeah.
But even if you take step backwards, reevaluate them. See why you stepped back. And then go forward again. Like, don't beat yourself up and don't be like, oh, I'm just giving up because I fell. Like, no, get back up.
Yeah.
You're fine. Get back up.
Yeah.
That's what I tell my kids all the time.
That's awesome. That is an awesome thing to say, actually. And that is you must be a great mother because that is awesome. But another thing I wanted to get into is, there is some stuff you did want to share on this darker side of the show, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Okay. So I'll dive into it a little bit first, just to kind of like...
Let me vibe it out.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So, on episode 1, I did go over the fact that when I was 21, so this is 2 years ago, I went away. I tried to commit suicide, and I went to a psych ward for a week.
Well, I'm happy you're here.
Yeah, I thank God every day that I'm here. I'm not a very religious person at all. But so I like to I revisit that a lot, you know, in my issue when I have tough days, tough moments, because that was my lowest moment in my life. You know, I remember being there and watching people literally like just scream at nurses. I had a guy in there that would walk up and down the hallways and spit random nonsense at people. Like, it was a very, very sad sight. And I came out of there because I was on a lot of drugs. You know, when I went into the hospital, I was on something like 150 Xanax bars or something like that.
A day?
No. This was like my actual attempt. Yeah, no, I was prescribed them beforehand.
Wow.
No.
How did you do that?
That was no way. But so I was on. I was already prescribed Xanax and everything like that at the age of 17, 18 years old.
That's terrible.
Yeah. So I mean, obviously, I'm in that pharmaceutical circle right now. I'm not, and I probably won't really ever. I mean, I can fight it out.
Don't say never.
I can fight it out, but for right now, with all the stuff that's going on in my life and in the world around me, that is just not a fight I'm trying to put up right now.
Absolutely.
You understand?
Your time comes when your time comes.
Exactly. Like, I'm okay right now, so I'm gonna move on. I'm gonna keep going through with what I'm doing.
Each day is a baby step.
Exactly. But like I was saying, when I went in, I went in on 100. When I went into the hospital originally, I took 150 Xanax pills, and they weren't full, you know, bars as they call them, but they were a different milligram. And before that, I was also doing cocaine, Molly, ecstasy all the time, so it would constantly have that, like you were saying, with the spikes in your glycemic level and everything like that. It was the same thing with me, but drugs and my actual mental chemicals and what would, you know, how that all transpired, and that really changed me. And then when I got out, I realized that I don't want to do that. Like, I want to live. I want to live a happy life, and that's kind of when I realized that I wanted to kind of show people that too.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
And that's kind of so. What did you want to share when we talked to you about coming onto this podcast?
Okay, so I've had so many.
Yeah, no, go whatever you were comfortable with.
I'm gonna go with my drug addiction. Okay, so I was 16, and I guess you can say, like, I started smoking weed when I was 13. Like, a lot of my girlfriends were doing it, and whatever, I tried it, but that didn't. Then I had girlfriends that were just like taking Xanax all the time at the age of 14. Like, just a mess. Like, it was just a mess. Like, so at the age of 16, I was on Percocets. Percocets were my thing.
I went through that phase as well.
What changed me was my son.
That's awesome.
When I got pregnant, and then after I had him, like, they gave me prescription, and they seriously asked me, do you want 20 or 30? I'm like, I'll take 30, you know, like, whatever.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
You're going to give it to me, fine.
Yeah, I want to take those extras, 100%.
I was a functioning addict.
Yeah.
Nobody knew that, or I thought nobody knew what I was doing. I got into a car accident. It was just a mess. That's how I went deep.
Yeah.
Um,
That's how the rabbit hole was really dug.
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Like, I was exposed at a young age, but that's when the rabbit hole went bad.
Yeah.
What really did it for me was I went to Reiki, and I knew I wanted to get clean. I knew it was like I never had like a full rock bottom with drugs because I never allowed myself to fall, and I also had very supportive people.
That's awesome. That is awesome. That's something that honestly saved me, was the support I had around me as well.
So I was able to catch myself before I really, really fell.
That's awesome to hear.
And that's why I feel that I need to speak out, because I know what it's like to almost be at that point.
Almost
and I
almost
know,
at rock bottom.
Yeah, and I know how to get out of it.
Yeah.
Like,
and that is a great thing to share with people.
I feel that people that are at rock bottom don't know how to get out. So I feel like I caught myself, so I'm able to catch other people.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That is really, really awesome, because I feel a very similar way. I mean, clearly I'm only 23, so I'm still working through a lot of these issues in my life. These are still very prevalent issues in my life. You know, and again, with the generational thing, I still live with my parents.
Yeah.
So I am exposed to it every single day, you know, and it's not to say that like my household is toxic in any way, because it's not. You know, my mom and my stepdad are both very supportive people, and my brother and sister are both there for me. It's just
the habits.
Exactly. It's the habits. It's the fact that I see it every single day. So when I go out and hang out with quote unquote normal people, it's very jarring to me. It's different. It's a very weird feeling to me to see like people function almost. I hate to use the word normal and like stuff like that, but like
I get what you're saying.
You know what I mean? Like it's a weird thing to see.
Yeah, no, I totally get that, because coming from, like, my dad was disabled my whole life.
Okay.
I was a gymnast. My parents couldn't take me to my competitions because we were always broke.
Yeah.
It was so negative. Like, everything.
There was very negative energy throughout your
entire
childhood.
and they have so much love. It was just that they don't know how to show it.
Yeah.
So I totally understand that when you're exposed to, like, families that are, like you said, not normal, but are in a happier disposition.
Or at least on the outside.
On the outside. But that's your perception. You
Yeah.
know, you look at them and then you want that. And then it's like you start getting angry and you start having resentment. Like, why don't I have that? And then you start beating up on yourself. It's a constant trip, and it's a voice in your head that like makes these scenarios
and
up.
when you're going through that, you think that's normal. You think that's okay. Like you're like, yeah, that's completely rational. That is a completely rationalized thought of why I'm angry. Like I'm angry at my parents because we don't have a normal life. Like and as I got older, like I went through that 16, 17-year-old angst, angry teenager phase. And then by the time now I look back and I'm like, it was the best anybody could do. Yeah. They did the best they could for us, and you know what? That is all we got to ask for. And I like to talk about, especially not even on the show, just to my friends and whatnot, is breaking that cycle. Breaking that cycle of you got to realize when your thinking is irrational. If you do have mental illnesses and you realize that, you have to realize when you're being irrational and when your mental illness is spiking up.
That I'm going to step into postpartum depression. Okay. I had thoughts of harming my daughter, and it was very scary.
Yeah.
I told a couple of my girlfriends, and I told my dad. I never told her father, so I'm sorry, Frank. You're finding out now. But I didn't want him to feel any, like, because I knew it was within me. Like, I didn't know. I knew none of it was real. But the fact that I was still able to have, like, I had those thoughts, like, it was
fleeting.
scary.
Yeah.
So I called, like, a hotline, and the woman was like, oh, it's totally normal. Like, women have this all the time. So right then, and then she goes, but I think you may need some medicine. And I'm just like, yeah, no, I'm good. Just needed to hear that it was normal.
Yeah,
bang, click.
Exactly.
So what I did is, every time I would hear that voice to say things to me, like, I'm still very paranoid about knives. Like, I hate knives being left out. Like, I've always had that paranoia. Okay. Knives just scare me.
I understand that. That's something that, like, everybody has.
Yeah.
Like, I'm terrified. Like, spiders, shit like that. Like, broken glass scares the shit out of me for some reason. I have no clue why. But, yeah, continue.
But, you know, okay, so every time I would have that thought that would come into my head about something, instead of getting my OCD and my anxiety of why I was having this thought, why, oh my goodness, like, I would start to be like, that's not who I am. You're nothing, like, whatever. So over time, it's to the point, I was actually just talking with my son, like I was getting really nervous to come here. And I heard the voice in my head saying like, oh, you suck, like it doesn't even matter, like nobody cares. And I'm just like, wait a second, like why are you even thinking this right now? Like you're gonna kill it, like go have fun, enjoy yourself. Like,
and I honestly feel the same way before I get behind the mic every single time. I have that same thought every single time I get behind the mic, like why, like it doesn't, what's the point? But then I remember like there are a handful of people that do reach out to the show and reach out to me, and and if I can help one person through this,
seriously,
that's all I want. That is all I want, is to help one single human being throughout this.
That's what I'm here for. I know that I'm here to help people. I'm gonna help people heal, and it's going to be an amazing journey, not just for me, but for everybody involved, because the one person that I may help, they may help 3, or the 5 people I may help, they could help 30, you know? So it's just going to, it's a ripple effect.
Yep, exactly. That's awesome to hear. That really is. And that's kind of what we're trying to do here, just in a little rawer fashion, it seems.
Well, real. Let's be real.
Exactly.
Like, I'm not going to be some influencer that's just like, my life is peachy keen. Like, you got to do this to get better. Like, no, I'm going to be real.
Life,
I'm a mom.
Life does suck from time to time.
I'm a mom of 2, and I don't work. Like, my wonderful fiance supports us. Like, I'm at home ripping my hair out some days.
Yeah.
Like, let's be honest.
Oh, I completely believe it. I completely believe it.
It's not all sunshine and rainbows.
Oh, no. I know that. I know that for a damn good fact. Believe me. We can get into a bunch of other stories if you do want to come back on the show.
Absolutely. I would
like
love to be here.
It was awesome having you on here today. So everyone go follow at intuitively you. I cannot say that word at all.
You'll get it. It's
Intuitively _ on Instagram.
Yes, that's me.
So definitely go give that a follow. Go watch all the recent Gage Your Health episodes. Follow Drunk Gamblers. What else? DG Card Room, Weekly Incon, all that good stuff. So that was an awesome episode. Thank you so much for coming on, Melissa.
Thank you for having me.